Morning, Blue Water, and welcome to the Blue Water Backstage podcast. My name's Tim. I'm one of the pastors at Blue Water Church in Sarnia, here always with my very good friend, Scott Stevenson, fellow pastor at Blue Water.
Hey, guys.
And also Pastor Bob on the ones and twos, making us sound good and look good and every other type of good that we can be.
He's doing it all. The lighting master. He's got under control.
If he could make us, very intelligent and sound,
There's got to be an AI tool for
give
this,
us good
right?
thoughts. Yeah. Figure it out, Producer Bob. We appreciate that. Well, we are glad that you are spending some time with us. For us, it's this afternoon, but for wherever it is for you, we are glad that you are tuning in. We want to take a minute and talk about some world events that are going on right now. I think just about a week or so before we're recording this, there is more conflict in the world escalating. The states not invaded, but has launched attacks on Iran. And there is no end of political punditry, offering all kinds of opinions about whether this is good or bad or other. And so we wanted to take a few minutes and try and think Christianly over this issue in particular, but also we want to think more Christianly as a whole. You, Pastor Scott, along with the team, just got back from the region where this is happening. And in fact, places where you walked on that trip have, had explosions and bombs and all kinds of stuff. So this probably feels pretty close to you. Talk to us about what it's like having missed it by a week, 2 weeks. Yeah. What thoughts have gone through your head and how have you been processing this?
Yeah, it is a lot to take in watching the news. Like, there's so many things happening. It's hard to even keep up with all the countries involved and everything that's going on. And I really appreciated what Bashara, our brother and missionary in this region, said on Sunday, and just reminded, we need to pray. Absolutely, we need to pray for for this region and for believers there. It is a weird thing to see on the news, these explosions going on there, but grateful the timing of when we were able to get home, seeing mass exodus out of the city now. I'm not sure if you'd get a flight out anymore. So we are such a blip in this story, but I am grateful for that. But grateful that our partners there are safe in regions north of that area. So, but even some of our Blue Water family, right, I was just gonna say that, are seeing these things unfold overhead, literally, and it is a scary time. It's scary watching it from here. It's certainly scary being there, and there's a lot to think about, as you said, and it is a very loaded topic. Something I'm realizing as I try to read and figure out what's going on and try to make sense of it all, and think Christianly, is just like, there's a lot to this. Yeah. It's a complex. It's simple in one sense, but in another, it is very nuanced, and there's a lot of history behind all the challenges that are going on in this part of the world. And sometimes people don't realize that. They're just kind of jumping in cold because, we don't, we live in Canada. So we're not caught up in all the things that have been going on for decades with U.S. and Iran relations and in the region and what have you. But it is important to realize I'm late to thinking about this. There's a whole history here to try to unpack and understand the current situation in light of the past.
Going back just a second, I don't know, and I'd have to think about this to, think if this is actually a true statement I'm about to make, but I don't think I know someone directly or are as close as I am to someone who is in a war zone. Like, we have people literally from our church who worship with us week in and week out, and I don't want to put names out there just on the off chance that it would cause them some sort of danger. I don't want to do that since this is going out on the internet, but I don't think I know someone who has been in harm's way seeing rockets going off overhead in a situation like this. And it really does kind of bring it home. Yeah.
Yeah. Like one of our people from here, right, seeing this. And even when our missionaries, from these places come and talk casually about seeing rocket fire many different times through their lives, some of them having lost loved ones in some of these conflicts over the years. It's a sobering thing. And some people, this is their real life. It's not just on TV.
It is, and you mentioned it's a complex issue. It is a complex issue. There's no question about that. However, there's a few things I want to sort of hit on as we try and think Christianly about this. The first thing is when it comes to the information we receive, how we evaluate, and where we sort of put our allegiances down. Now, does anybody care where I come out on this issue?
I care.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I think you're joking about that.
No, I care. I care what my pastor thinks.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. In the grand scheme of things, like these are personal opinions, right?
It's a great way to say that. So how do we process this? I think the primary thing that we need to consider as Christians is the biblical imperative to have multiple lines of evidence or multiple lines of proof before we cast judgment on something.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that we are necessarily good at that, especially in an age where what does a line of proof or a line of evidence look like? And are you sure that video that you saw, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, is not recycled from 5 years ago or 12 years ago, or is not AI generated?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty easy to be deceived, right? And what an age we live in. Like, you can literally within 15 minutes of an actual bomb being dropped, see on the ground footage of the blast site by people uploading to social media, right? Like, I remember as a young pup, after 9/11, seeing bombs fall in Kabul and being baffled that we were watching this in grainy footage on TV, on the news, live, and now, like, we're literally seeing it play out on people's handheld devices, right? And all that comes with that. And and when you see that powerful footage, you form opinions and gut feelings immediately. Is it true? Is it not? There's all kinds of allegations, and AI is really good. It's very easy to be deceived. So what is actually true? And when you talk about taking sides or allegiances, like, as Christians, obviously this sounds so cliche, but like, our allegiance is to Christ.
Oh man.
Right? Like, preach. My allegiance isn't to, I'm not trying to take sides. Am I team this? Am I team that? Man, I think there are in any conflict, it's okay to say that, one side is more in the right. Like, I know war is complicated and tragic and all these things, but like, ultimately it's not about taking sides. It's about our allegiance being to Christ, and then thinking through current events in light of that, sure, right? But
Producer Bob needs to hit us up with some sort of deck that we can push a button so we can get like a preacher when I think you're throwing fire, spitting button. Fire. Yeah, some sort of cool button that'll do that. I think you're exactly right. Can you be honest for a second? After 9/11, when you were watching TV and watching those bombs drop, how much were you expecting the rapture?
Well, I was really little. Because I'm just a young pup. but it was a crazy time. And some people in this room maybe weren't even alive.
Can you imagine?
During that time. They don't know what we went.
maybe just barely. Wow. Not by much. Not by much.
Yeah.
Mere months.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm sure it shaped you too in some way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So we do need to be careful. We do need to be careful of multiple lines of communication. We do need to make sure that our Lord, that Christ is our Lord, that we are on Team Jesus. So whatever political, whatever military, whatever, we're Team Jesus first. And that sort of brings up another question that I have for you. In your sense, and I'm not expecting you to have a full-throated, full-orbed response to this, but just in your sense, Christians on the ground who are in that area, are they happy about this? And I'm not just talking about American Christians. I'm talking about national Christians in these areas. Are they happy with the Ayatollah going down? Are they saddened by that? What is the response that you're getting feedback from brothers and sisters in the area?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, ask people who live there, right? Like, we can have our own opinions, and a lot of the stuff you see in the media is very passionate about what's best for Iran and the Iranian people. From our perspective on this side of the world, like, ask people that live through this experience. Are they cheering? Are they feeling liberated? Like, that's important. And as believers, like you said, well, I don't personally have any connections in Iran, but even just talking with our missions partners in the last couple of weeks, like, there's a sense of, wow, let's see how the Lord could use this to continue to bring the gospel. It has been incredible how God has redeemed something like the war in Syria to bring literally hundreds of thousands of people to Christ through war, catastrophe, displacement. He can use this. And we said, and Bashara said on Sunday too, Iran is one of the fastest growing church movements in the world under the oppression of this regime. Like, imagine how this could explode. And so, like, I think it's okay to I don't want to say rejoice, like death is death, but the death of an evil person who has suppressed the church, this could be a positive thing for the gospel to spread in this part of the world, right? So Christians that I have talked to about it so far, there seems to be like, no one wants war, but there is some rejoicing in the removal of oppression.
Yeah. I was late to this. Would it be 15 or 20 years ago that the Arab Spring happened? What time frame were we looking at there?
I don't know. Was that like 2010 or something?
That's a great question. I'm not totally sure.
Fact check this. Maybe Bob can help us. But
whenever
that was the beginning of a big movement.
Yeah, I thought the Arab Spring was a good thing. Mm-hmm. And because of the information I was receiving through social media, through traditional media, through all these things, and then I started hearing from Christians that actually the Arab Spring was a really, really hurtful thing to the gospel, and a really bad thing just as far as even human rights go. Like the Arab Spring was not a good or helpful or beneficial thing. Bob says, "Oh wow, hey, good call on calling 2010 on the Arab Spring." Thanks, producer Bob. And Pastor Scott nailed it. So I think, it is helpful to hear from Christians in the area about, and they probably don't have a necessarily full-orbed picture of it all as well, but they know what they're experiencing. They know what their churches are experiencing. They know what the brothers and sisters are experiencing.
Yeah, and even if that single event at the time itself wasn't beneficial, like, it can be part of what begins to become beneficial, right? Like what is meant for evil God can mean for good, right? Yeah. So those things in and of themselves are not good, but how can God work in that midst? And like the amount of people even from there and the wars that followed who were displaced, and just by being displaced are more open and receptive to hearing the gospel. It is amazing. And this is so tragic. So many people are gonna, be impacted by this in negative ways, but how can God redeem it?
Yep. Yeah. When I was a little kid, like I'm talking little, I'm talking just barely able to understand. I remember being fascinated by the burner, the element on the stove, and like how fluorescent, how crazy does that get? I remember my dad telling me, "Hey, don't touch that. That's going to burn you." Yeah. And guess what?
He was right.
And he was right.
Yeah.
So we're stepping into one of those topics right now that it's probably going to burn us, but I think we need to talk about it anyway. Let's talk about Israel and their role in this. How should we think Christianly about the nation state of Israel? I
think it's important to remember, and the church kind of gets this wrong sometimes. Like we have convictions about Israel. We have beliefs about Israel's role in God's plan for human history and all of these things, and that's important. But that doesn't mean that the modern state of Israel can do no wrong.
Sure.
Same as it means that the U.S. or Canada, like there's no one who is, like, again, our allegiance is to Christ. Everyone else is fallible human beings who can make missteps and do wrong things or even evil things. So we don't have to take sides and cheer for every single action that any one group that's involved in these things takes. And also, like, the modern state of Israel is not a Christian nation.
Oh, not even.
They are not Team Jesus.
You can't proselytize.
There are so few evangelical believers there. I think when people have never maybe kind of dug into this or been on the ground there, like, there are many, many of the Orthodox are spitting on Christians in the street. Like this is not, they don't see us as the same team. We're not brothers and sisters in the Lord in that capacity. There are believers there. We pray the Lord will bring many Jews to still to faith, and there's all kinds of stuff we can talk about that. But this is not a Christian nation, and so. What did you even ask me to start? How should we think about their involvement? Well, I mean, there's a lot of history to the situation, and you can have all kinds of feelings about, how hard should they hit back. Sometimes we just hear one side and don't even always know about how much is being targeted towards them. But I think it's really important to know that they can still make missteps along the way, right?
Yeah. I think that when we are thinking about Israel, the first place we need to go, I think, is the book of Romans, where Paul is pretty clear that not all Israel is Israel.
Yeah.
So there is a distinction between believing Israel and unregenerate Israel.
Yeah.
So we have to have these lines firmly in our brains.
Yep.
My sense is that as a Westerner, if we're talking about the nation state of Israel as opposed to spiritual Israel, the nation state of Israel, my understanding would be that they are probably the closest and most friendly to a Western nation like ours.
Sure.
So we take that into consideration. I love how you said it, that none of that means that they can do no wrong. None of that means that they cannot do evil.
Yeah.
However, they are operating in the face of what we should see as great evil. They're operating in the face of what we should see as great repression. And the truth of the matter is that, you just made a comment, how hard should they hit back? Well, number one, you can have a legitimate and thoroughgoing deep discussion about whether it's actually more moral to hit first with a big punch and just knock the person down. Is that actually more or less moral than little jabs that keep a fight going on and on and on and on? I think we could debate this going both directions, but I don't think it is necessarily logical on its face to say that the big punch right out the front is the more immoral thing.
And I think we're just so shaped by our feelings, right? Like depending what news site you watch and tugs on your heart, like you could flip flop back and forth on these things, and it is. It's really hard. Like kids at our camp that we just ran were asking us, like, are you team Israel or team Palestine? Like, this is like the way that we think about this is so important. But I would say it's valuable for us to, if you actually care, to have an informed Christian opinion on these things. You got to put in a little work and listen to the claims that are being made by both sides. So anyone that is mourning the Ayatollah's death should really listen to a couple of his speeches on YouTube and see what did this person actually stand for. We're late to the game. Unless you've been following Iranian politics for decades by some chance, like do some research. What are the sides that are attacking Israel? What are they saying? What are they saying is their hope and their end game and their goal, and compare that, right? You can argue about strategy and war. Like, I don't know anything about that. That's not my experience, but I can listen to the claims being made by both sides and evaluate those moral claims. Is this something that's rooted in evil intention and desire, or is it rooted in something that we can agree with and maybe disagree with the methods that it's carried out with? But listen, when people show you who they are, believe them. So
I don't know who said that, but that's a really worthwhile piece of advice. You're anticipating a lot of what I was just going to say, because if you do listen to the sides, and we're talking specifically about Israel here. If you do listen to the sides, and if both sides, or if either side was to get what they want, well, if Israel were to get what they want, there would be certain boundaries in the land that would be owned by them, and that they would not be attacked. And like, so sure, that is true. If the other side got what they wanted, and we're not like reading their minds, these are their stated opinions. If the other side got what they wanted, every Jew would be killed. There would be no nation. Every Jew would be murdered. So these are the sides. Pick your team.
It is. It's a tough thing.
Did we touch the burner?
Probably. The email's flooding in for Bob, and feel free to send them to bob@bluewaterbaptist.ca, and he will respond.
Yep, that's right. I think it's bobby@bluewaterbaptist.ca, so make sure you get it right. We definitely don't want that to bounce. He wants to see all the emails.
I think like it is important too. Like, we're talking about real things, real people's lives being affected, ending. Like, this is... not something to just take lightly and have opinions about and watch on the news. Like, it's tragic. Even if you could say that it may be justified, like, it's still tragic. People are dying, and we have to pray. Absolutely.
So, and God will use it for his glory. Like that is what will happen. God will use this for his glory. The church will arise, and people will come to faith. That is what happened. Hey, so we started a new series last week.
Pivot.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody heard my what I would say is a beautiful transition last week from our introductory topic into the it was little I'm not perfect, I'm not there yet, I haven't arrived. It was a bit of a more hard turn on this today, but we are working on this new series talking about the good news. We're talking about the practical outworkings of sharing our faith or not sharing our faith, being able or unable to articulate our faith. Let's talk about some of these things.
Yeah. So this week we're talking about on Sunday, really the idea of, if I'm going to share my faith, do I actually have as firm a grasp on understanding the gospel and have experienced that in my own life as I think? Because sometimes I'm convinced some of us are trying to share something with others that we haven't really grabbed onto ourselves as fully. And we kind of use this analogy, and I wonder if you can identify with this. Like, are you afraid of flying, or do you like flying?
I'm not afraid of it. I definitely, it's not my favorite thing.
It's not your favorite thing. Like comfort factor or fear wise?
I mean, a little bit of both. So both. Like you, heights are not my friend.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, which it bothers me immensely. Like being on a ladder 20 feet off the ground, terrifying experience. Being in a plane 30,000 feet up doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just seems different. Like you have no control. Yeah. If you're going down, you're going down. I can do nothing about it, right? But the flight attendants always show you this demo that no one pays attention to, but we all know, like the masks come down, right? If something goes bad. I don't know anyone that's ever seen that happen. I don't think.
No, it does seem fairly theoretical. Like, lose cabin pressure and the masks are, I've not, if you're listening to this and if you've experienced the mask coming down from the ceiling, we'd love to hear from you.
I'm not convinced any of that even matters when it's time for the mask to come down. It's kind of like when they say crash position, like, I'm going to be vaporized. Like, does it matter if my head is between my knees? I don't think so. But anyway, we know you're supposed to attach your mask before you help someone else. And so this idea is my mask on? Do I have a grasp of the gospel? Could I clearly articulate it? If someone did, if God throws me a lob and someone says, what is the good news about Jesus? Could I actually explain it in full,
right?
As well as I like to think I might,
right.
When it's a hypothetical. So we really want people, and I want to grow in this along with everyone. Like, we want to be equipped to feel ready to do that and pray for those opportunities and then walk in them. That's the heart of it, right?
Yeah. So the gospel, there is the gospel is in some sense as deep as you can, as deep as you want to mine.
Right.
You will never exhaust the glories and the beauties of the gospel. And in another sense, it is so elementary that a child can understand it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I was thinking about this earlier. So I think that the most elementary way that we can articulate the gospel message, and this doesn't drill into all of the facets. It's like a diamond. If you're turning it, it's not getting every facet of the diamond. But I think the most elementary way that you can articulate the gospel is this, and see what you think about this. And this does come from Bible verse. I just can't locate it in my brain right now, but it's that the gospel is that Jesus died to save sinners. So if you need the 5-second or the 5-word
that's good.
articulation of the gospel, it's that Jesus died to save sinners. However, man, you can go deep about how the gospel impacts different parts of your life and different parts of your attitude and your behavior. And
it is pretty cool, actually, that it's not that complicated, and yet the PhD student can spend their whole life long trying to study and plumb the depths and still be left wanting, right? So, but my kids, they get it. The 5-year-old can get it at their level.
I don't want to distract from what you said, though, because it is, and I think I did distract, but while it's true that it can be stated very elementarily and it can be mined very deeply, when it comes time to present the gospel, what are the key facets that really do need to be articulated in order for someone to understand sufficiently that they can receive it in a saving way? Yeah,
like we talked on Sunday, that really it's a message about God, it's a message about sin, about Christ and redemption, and it's a message about repenting and believing, right? There's a response. So like I caught myself trying to explain it in a couple examples, realizing it's really easy to miss one of those parts. You can tell someone, it's good news. Jesus died for our sin.
Right.
And leave out the fact that they have to respond in faith. And that's really
repentance.
an incomplete. Yeah. And that's an incomplete picture. Right. And so just, am I giving a complete understanding of the biblical concept of this good news? Right. And, I think we're more confident sometimes than we ought to be until that moment comes, and we got to practice these things. So
I am a firm believer in, I've said this a number of times in the past few weeks even, but like I will, if I'm talking with someone, I will have a fantastic answer for whatever question they float to me. In 2 days. I'll send it in an email after I've had time to sort of mull on it and articulate it really well and read through it 100 times. So for someone like me, who is not quick on the draw, self-admittedly, like I do need to have this processed through and thought through if I want to be faithful to what God has called me to. And I love what you, how you're leading us through this series where you're helping us to see some different, some different tools for how to articulate the gospel. Talk to us about these tools. Yeah.
Like some people, are turned off by the idea of having a strategy, so to speak, or like a tool in their pocket. But if you're someone who's so comfortable and winsome and like these things just happen, you find yourself in these amazing gospel conversations all the time at work, like God bless you in that. Keep doing whatever it is that you're doing, that you're so comfortable in that, if you're sharing in fullness. Some of us like to have something to, not fall back on, but like make sure that we're equipped. If nothing more, it helps you remember and be sure that you're presenting the full picture. I'm not saying you have to read these tools like a script and be robotic about it, but it might be great. Some of these tools have served me well, and other times I've had cool conversations that were totally didn't involve them. Some of it's personality. The point is that people are sharing with Jesus. So however you best do that and feel equipped to do that, right? We said D.L. Moody, we talked about a D.L. Moody quote about this, right? But the idea being like, whatever gospel tool you will use is the good one, and do that. I just think so often we feel unequipped, and like that part we can fix. You still have to decide if it's worth it to share. That part only as individuals we have to decide a risk is worth taking. But we can fix the empty tool kit, right? And when you said not feeling equipped in the moment, like all of us are different. I've had that same feeling tons of times. I love when I hear from people. I shared with my coworker at work and they stumped me and I kind of panicked, but I came back to them 2 days later and said, hey, I've been thinking about that thing you said and I have an answer. And they follow up, and how meaningful that is to people when you actually care to dig and then come back to people have shared that, oh wow, that means a lot, that you realized you didn't know, but you want to continue the conversation. So
there's some humility there.
Yeah, you can come back. It doesn't have to all happen in one conversation.
There's some caring there. So I care enough to actually process through this with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that is a good thing. Role play with me here. So I am someone who sat through one of these sermons in the past couple weeks. I say sat through. That came out a little more derogatory than I actually meant it, but I was there. I listened.
Eyes open.
Eyes opened. We can see you.
Yeah.
Definitely at Wellington. I think it's a little harder at Divide. You can get farther. You can get farther back and hide a little better. At Wellington, we can see you.
That's true.
But so
prayer.
Let's imagine. Yeah, deep in prayer. Let's imagine that I sat through. I had my little booklet. I took some notes. I brought my booklet home. I really do want to be the kind of person who shares my faith with others. Okay, so I have taken notes. I did listen. Now what? Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it starts simply by thinking, who do I need to share with? Right? And we've worked through that and we're going to keep working through that. I think it takes about 5 seconds of careful consideration. And if you're a believer in Jesus, like you know the people around you that you have been meaning to talk to or longing to talk to, scared to talk to, fill in the blank, or that, I had a conversation with my girls the other day, they're like, I don't know very many people who don't know Jesus. And like, in one sense,
I'm so grateful to the Lord that they know so many believers in all their spheres of their life, right? That's beautiful. But at the same time, then it's like, okay, what are we going to do about that? How do we address that? And because they're out there, right? So what does that look like in our work, or in the bleachers at the kids' sports, or like fill in the blank, the people that live right beside you?
I was going to say neighbors. Yeah.
Sometimes we have to do a little more work to figure out these opportunities, and then pray, right? That sounds so cliche, but like this has to start with prayer. And sometimes these opportunities come organically. Sometimes the Lord throws you a lob and someone says, oh, you go to church, right? Like, what did your pastor teach about this past week? Tell me.
Right.
And sometimes you have to creatively stir those conversations on your own, even if it's awkward, and everything in between, right? But I think the intention is the prayer and taking some sort of small step forward.
I think there are... I think what you just said is really key, taking some small step forward. So there are the times where the Lord drops someone on your lap. So for example, I'm thinking about guys that I've played basketball with for, years upon years upon years. And, sharing the gospel with in light ways, and not really articulating the full gospel like we had talked about in just a couple minutes ago. Not the depths of the gospel, but invitations to church, and
there's different types of conversations.
Sure. Yeah. Not laughing at the jokes that shouldn't be laughed at. And, there's all these kinds of things. I would say that is not, just doing that is not sufficient. Right? Just being that person is not sufficient. However, there are times, and I'm thinking of one instance right now where I knew a guy for a long time. He was having some issues with his marriage. And so I was the one that he called. And what he said was, I know you're a pastor. And he said, I know you love my kids. So he would bring his small kids to, play lunch hour basketball every once in a while. And the fact that I took a few seconds, and really not much more than that, to kind of get on their level and what have you, that was enough for him to reach out to me instead of some therapist or like whatever. So there are opportunities like that. And we want to pray for those. However, if that's the only opportunity that I have shared my faith, when someone came to me, then I'm not doing my job.
Yeah. And those, like, that is one way to foster opportunities. And we talked about the whole use words if necessary thing, right? Are you living the gospel out in a sense by loving on people's kids and not laughing at the joke and all that? Yeah. But all of the hope of that is that they would say, hey, why are you the way that you are? Right. So that we could then say, well, not just, oh, your kids are really great, they're easy to hang out with. No. Hey, my love for Jesus motivates my love for you, and let me flesh that out for you more. Right. Words are always necessary at some point, but they may never ask, hey, why are you so nice? Why are you different? This type of thing.
Everyone likes a nice guy.
Lots of people are nice. I told a story about my crossing guard as a child who's super nice, and I always felt like she probably knows Jesus. Right. But like, I had no idea. She could just be a really nice person, right? By God's grace, we're not all as living as depraved as we possibly could. And people can do moral things and smile and these types of things. Doesn't mean they know the Lord. And so sometimes someone will ask why you are the way you are. You got to use words. Sometimes they won't, and we have to find a way to use words regardless. And that is hard, but
I really like the idea that you were carrying, the idea of being ambassadors, right? This is a biblical term. This is a biblical concept. Here's the problem, though. It is not unheard of for ambassadors of some country to go to another country and forget the country that they are an ambassador from and fall in love with the country that they have been an ambassador to the point even where sometimes some ambassadors have really, lost the plot on this and switch sides even. We need to be careful as Christians.
That's a good point.
Not to lose the bubble on that. We are in this world. We are not of this world. We pray for the good of this world, but boy, do we have to be careful to remember where our citizenship is and whose we are.
Yeah, if an ambassador cares more about the local interest than the interest of their sending country, like, what are they there for?
Well, they're a traitor.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is I'm blanking on the word. What is it when you betray your country and they shoot you?
Oh, like treason.
It's treason.
Yeah.
That really is what it is. It's treasonous.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that, we are citizens of a different kingdom.
Yeah.
And we are ambassadors to this kingdom.
Yeah. And as we talked on Sunday with some kind of funny stories too, like we can misrepresent and leave a bad taste of in people's mouths of our sending nation, or however you want to frame that. But so we don't want to do that either. But where our allegiance lies is super important.
It is. So when we're talking about our stories, we're talking about how we can share our faith. One of the ways that is super helpful to share the story of Jesus is to share what Jesus has done in our lives and in our hearts. Because if we're not into apologetics, and if we're not, good with arguments, we may not feel super equipped. However, if I tell you my story about what God has done in my life, what are you going to say? Are you going to say, no, God didn't do that?
Yeah, that's a nice thing. No one can argue with you whether or not Jesus changed your life, right?
So when it comes to telling our stories, what are some of the, what is the core? What is the key that we need to get across?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not claiming that I'm an expert on this at all, but just trying to think through it. Some people are against talking about testimony as a form of evangelism. And I get that, because it's easy to just make it only personal and kind of still fail to articulate the good news about Jesus and just say, oh, he changed my life. Well, that isn't giving any real actionable information to the person who's hearing. You do have to flesh that out more of, how did he change my life? Well, I recognize my need for him, that he died for me. You have to get to that gospel moment. But I think this is a totally acceptable tool. Paul uses it many times, telling his story to anybody that would listen, and references it through the epistles. We get a few real detailed accounts of him doing it. It's powerful stuff, and people love story. And I think the question is, could I share this in, a short window?
Right.
Could I share this in 3 minutes, or would it take me 45 to actually flesh out the difference God's made in my life? And to remember, your story is meaningful. Even if you lived in the most Christian of Christian bubbles, you were raised from death to life, even if it was as a child.
That's all of our story.
That is supernatural, crazy, miraculous, if we really believe that's what happened. Whether you were 7 or 70, you don't have to be a cartel member previously to have a cool testimony. I pray my kids have a really boring testimony in one sense, and it's still incredible. That is a blessing. Right? Yeah. So can I articulate it in a way that shows it's meaningful, right? And, I don't know, I just grew up in the church. Well, come on. Yeah. There's so much more going on in the cosmic reality,
right?
At the soul level.
And this is where this point that we've been emphasizing, put a little bit of time in, put a little bit of preparation in, so that you can take your story, you can take the thing that no one can take away from you.
Yeah.
No, God didn't work in your life. Well, what? No, everyone's gonna, that's not a legitimate pushback to your story, but use that, leverage it in a way so that you can communicate the gospel. So think about your story enough that you can get to that point, so that you can turn that corner. Hey, and whatever that looks like, however that gets articulated, this is what God did for me, and you need to know that too.
Yeah, totally.
I am just thinking about some of the things that we've done as a church, like for example, the Amazon gift giveaways that we've done a few years in the past number of years. So I was grabbing some gifts for some people that I want to share the gospel with. And I got to be honest, I really did have to think about, okay, when I'm going to hand this gift over, I'm not just going to say, hey, I'm giving this to you because I'm a good guy. Or, hey, Merry Christmas, just with something like that. And I had to, for myself, I had to plan through that. No, I'm going to get to Jesus in this, right? I'm going to say that, I forget exactly how I said it, but it was something along the lines of, Christmas is a good gift. Jesus is the best gift. And so I want to give a good gift to you. Did it come off as a little tacky? Yep. Did one of the guys that I give it to look at me a little bit sideways? Yep. And okay. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yep. You're going to get some sideways looks. Yeah, but I think that's great. And like, is that a full, hey, do you have 20 minutes? Let me unpack the depth of the gospel. No, but like it's in 5 words. It's something, right? And I think we're going to talk about this in the weeks to come. Like every conversation might not be a full gospel presentation.
Yeah.
And if you've shared the full gospel with someone, every single time you see them after that, you don't have to do it again. Right. You can take the opportunities to continue to build there as you are able. But we talk about CPR, like cultivate, plant, and reap. And some little moments are like, to me, that's a planting moment. You gave the gospel, even in a couple sentences, it's clear. Cultivating is, playing with the kids at basketball, and that leads to opportunities. And then there's some moments that are reaping moments that are like, it's time to shake the tree and let the ripe fruit fall.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, I've given you a gift for 5 years now. Have you ever thought about what I've been saying each time?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to talk more about that? And do you believe this, those kinds of moments? But not every moment's a reaping moment either. And that's okay. We don't have to feel bad about that.
It is okay. I'm just so...
They probably won't talk to you if every moment you try to shake them.
So I'm just thinking through, you're jogging my memory with some stories about this one individual. I don't want to make it too specific or else, I don't want to out this person, but I've been trying to share the gospel with them for years and decades even. And when a couple of years ago, we went out for wings and, I sort of, I laid it out as clearly as I could, and he wasn't biting, and hey, no problem. Gave him a gift, and like he looked at me a little sideways. We started this recent men's Bible study, and I really, really think that he would have benefited so much from it. So I texted him to invite him out to go with me, and I go to the early morning one. Right, so I'm in Petrolia at 6 a.m.
One of those crazy people.
Yeah, one of those crazy people. He didn't text me back for weeks.
Okay.
So
it must not have gone through. You better send it again.
I texted him, and it was a little bit last minute, like, hey, I'm just thinking about you, I think this would be good. Are you interested? And literally, I didn't hear a text back for weeks. He just left it. And hey, that doesn't hurt my feelings. Like,
but it was
fine.
Okay.
It was okay. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Put it out there. And like you say, when you fish, you don't catch something every single cast. Yeah. And that's all right, because it's God's job to do that. Yeah.
And I think we talked about that Sunday too. Like, it is super important to remember what's my job, what's God's. And I think we made the joke maybe 2 weeks ago, like the Calvinists can sleep pretty well at night. Right. Like there's something about wherever you land on that, like there's something about trusting that God is in control and will use my broken, fumbling, bumbling attempts as he wills. I'm supposed to share. He saves. I don't have to bear this crushing responsibility. That's my job to be so eloquent and articulate that, that Wings hangout ends with a revival every time, because like he's in control of it. And that's when we actually believe that, it's super freeing.
And we can trust that. Well, listen, we've been going for a long time. Is there anything that we want to hit before we close?
No, I think as a church, I'm really excited if we commit to pray about this, not just for 4 weeks, but for the next long time. If we commit to pray, if we share in the prayer app, there is a whole friends and family section on the prayer app even.
It's kind of fallen into disuse, but I would love to see that revived.
We can revive it, and even just in our own prayer life, praying for opportunities and praying for courage to walk in them. Like, I'm just excited because God will use those in some capacity. As he wills, and that's awesome.
May we be this kind of church.
Yeah.
May we be the kind of church that takes this seriously. May we, wherever else we land, may this be something that's true of us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, we are so glad that you have joined us. If you would like to comment on any of these things, we were joking earlier, you can email Bob if you want, but if you want to get in contact with us, you can email office@bluewaterbaptist.ca. And so on behalf of Scott and producer Bob, my name's Tim. You are loved.